All right, so a little bit background about myself. Johnny Lyon, I'm from Seattle. I've been fursuiting in public for about 7 years, doing all sorts of things, parades, charity events, community events, festivals. And a couple years ago, I founded a character performance and nonprofit organization called Emerald City Critters in the Seattle area, and we do about 6 or 7 events a year up there, so it's going pretty well so far. Let's see, just so you guys, so I have an idea here. How many of you have actually fursuited in public before? Most of you, okay, yeah, it's pretty much all of you. So, as an introduction, can anyone explain, I mean, it's very understandable why we would fursuit at a convention, but what's so special about bringing this out to the public realm? Can anyone have any ideas? Yes?
I'd say this people used to see a different culture of life that they don't normally see. So they can get more used to it.
Exactly, yeah, it's something very different. One of the main differences about fursuiting at a con is people more or less expect the fursuits to be there, you know, but when you go out in public, and people's minds are blown quite often, and they think it's, you know, often the coolest thing. Anyone else? Yeah, that's a good, very good reason, and yeah, so it's about bringing something different, as he said, to the public, and also being able to make a positive difference, bringing those smiles to the faces of people you interact with in public. That's one of the definite positives of doing it outside of a convention. Can anyone name some differences between fursuiting at a convention versus inside of a public venue? What are some of the main differences? Anyway. Yes?
At a convention, they're pretty prepared for fursuits. Out in public, there's lots of places you can't go and lots of other things you have to take into consideration.
Absolutely, yes, lots of rules, and there are, more or less, if you fursuit at a con, everyone, the whole fandom, all the attendees are pretty much your spotters. They have, most of them at least, have been around fursuiters before, so it's kind of a more controlled, enclosed environment. In public, you don't know what's going to happen. It's very unpredictable. You have to really be as prepared as possible. It's a whole different world out there. Now, BLFC is a very unique convention. I've been to quite a few conventions, but there's more interaction with the public at this con because the main thoroughfare between the convention area is open to the public, which is really not the case at most cons. So, yeah, you will see a lot of that, and it's pretty cool to see because most of them really dig the fursuits, you know, when they see it, and the families will come in with kids and take pictures. So this convention in particular is very unique in that regard. Can anyone name the most important thing to have when you're going out in public in fursuit? Yes? Excellent. Yes, spotters or handlers. Handlers are your performers' eyes and ears, as well as the spokespeople for your group, because most fursuit performers do not speak in costume, as that kind of breaks the illusion, it breaks character. So it's really the handler's job to field questions from the public as you're out there, and trust me, you will get a lot of questions. The most common one is just simply, why are you guys here? You know, what's the purpose of this? Because people, it's obviously, as you guys have said, it's not expected to see fursuits out in public. So to answer that question, a good one is, you know, we're freelance mascots, or just, you know, we're just out here to bring smiles to people's faces, have a little fun, you know, bring something a little different to the community. Those are all really good answers. Sometimes we'll get questions like, you know, are you guys with a particular group, or welcome you guys, come on in. Handlers also watch out for pitfalls and potential dangers, even if it's something as small as you're walking along and you see a curb coming up. Fursuiters, you know, have that vision. They can't really, unless they're looking down physically, they won't see that curb. So it's up to the handlers to make sure that your fursuiters do not trip and fall and hurt themselves. They also act as kind of bodyguards, protect their fursuiters. Fursuiters are very vulnerable in public because obviously a lot of outside influences. You might have a group of kids come up that are really, you know, that preteen, early teenage that really want to, you know, start something. So, yeah, exactly. The tail pullers, exactly. That's a good one. Also, oh yes, keeping groups together. This is a big one. If you go out to, in a group, say any of more than like 3 or 4, it is really hard to keep all the fursuiters together. What tends to happen is, like, say you're going out in a group of 6, maybe the 3 in the back gets stopped for a photo, and then the 3 in the front don't see that, so they just keep on going, and the group just splits up that way. So it's a handler's responsibility to try to keep that group together as much as possible. And also manage breaks, and also attending to the performer's needs. It's a really good idea to have one of the handlers carry bottles of water in like a backpack or a cooler case for that, because especially in public, there's not a lot of opportunities to take breaks unless you go all the way back to the home base where you started. So it's a good idea to have water on hand or anything that a suitor might need to cool down or take a rest. Ratio. Ideal ratio for fursuiting in public to me is a 2-to-1 ratio to fursuiters to handlers. So for instance, if you're going out in a group of 6, I would have 3 handlers. Now the minimum ratio I would have is 3-to-1. So I would, for a group of 6 fursuiters going out, I would never have less than 2. Because it's that important to have strength in numbers pretty much. Finally, use hand signals to communicate with your suitors. Like for example, say a suitor needs help or assistance in some way, or they need to take a break, the hand across the throat, something like that. Or even just like something simple like pointing down means like there's a child in front that you wants to interact with the suitor, because sometimes the really small ones, you can't even see them in suit, so you don't want to trample the poor kid, obviously. So that's about it for spotters. Anyone else have anything to add for spotters being important? Okay, and we'll be revisiting that topic as well. Okay, so before we get into choosing a venue and all that stuff, I want to do some fursuit demonstrations here, because fursuiting in public, you're going to be interacting with kids a lot, and it's really important that everyone kind of knows the basics of interacting with children, because it's a little bit different. So, Wolfstang, right? Yeah, okay. We have a volunteer here that will help me. Oops, let's not trip over this cord. Okay, so for the first one, fursuiting around kids, let's see. Sorry. Can anyone tell me what's kind of the most important thing when you're fursuiting around kids? As a fursuiter, what's the key to do?
Always have to look down.
Yeah, you have to look down, yeah. In easier ways, actually, when you're interacting with a child, get down to their level already. Yeah, just lower yourself, because when you're in suit, especially for the smaller kids, like 6 years old and under, you're going to be this huge hulking thing to them, and you can really, no, this is funny. Coming up from the fursuit parade yesterday, this little kid actually called me a monster because I looked obviously very big to him, big and scary. But anyway, so it's a good idea to get down to their level. Now, for example, Wolfstang, what would be the wrong thing to do if I was a child and I wanted to interact with you? What would be the wrong way to approach me? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. When you first see a child and they're kind of interested in you, the natural impulse is like, oh my gosh, Alex, don't do that, please. Now, if the child is kind of unsure about you, they kind of want to interact, but they're kind of scared, how would you win them over? That's excellent. Yeah, kind of get down to their level, act cute, and this is really good right here. Let the child come to you. Don't really approach them or make any move, because if they want to interact with you, they will eventually warm up to you and win them over. So he's holding his paw out, as you can see, and then kind of, sometimes the kids will just kind of touch the paw, and yeah, exactly, high five, that's right. And if, after a while, then maybe you can, do the hug thing, maybe they'll give you a hug too. Another good one, if they're like really scared or starting to cry or something, a good one will be to hide behind your handler, because yeah, exactly. If you act scared in return, the kid will be like, oh, why is he scared? I mean, if he's scared of me, why should I be scared of him? It's kind of that idea. So that often works. Another really good one is interacting with the parent. So usually the parent will be kind of trying to goad the kid on to interact with the suitor. So if you kind of, pretend I was a parent, pretend that we were friends and stuff, and the kid will be like, oh, if my mom is fine with this thing, then what's the problem? So I've seen that work as well. Let's see, what else? Yes, never ever take a child, a small infant, because sometimes the mom will have a baby in the arms, and they'll try to physically hand off your child to the fursuiter. how would you non-verbally say that you're not going to do that? Yeah, pause up, you know. Another good one would be, because sometimes they won't get it, you can kind of like fake drop, and then, you know, then they'll probably get the idea that those paws are not really, your dexterity is not that good. So, yeah. So usually another alternative to doing that is to, you know, like get down on one knee and have the mom hold the child or stand up, you know. Just never take the infant. When you're fursuiting, obviously be ready for lots of pictures. Now I'm sure you have some standard poses you use for photos. Yeah, what's your pose? That's a good one, yeah. Excellent. Very good. So change it up a little bit. You know, I have about maybe 2 or 3 standard poses I use. I'm a lion, so I kind of do this like this. That's one of my standard ones. But change it up a little bit, you know. Especially at a con, so all the photos of you don't look the same. Experiment in front of a mirror, and yeah, just have fun with that. Oh yes, props now. Let's see. Props are a lot of fun. They can really add to your character. You might have seen my lion character hold up this zebra leg, and it has a squeaker in the bone. It's really popular with the kids. Props are really good, especially if they match your character or the event. So for an example, we have a festival up in the Seattle area every fall called Issaquah Salmon Days. Yeah, oh yeah, you're good. Thank you very much, Wolfstang. Appreciate it. Good job. Salmon Days is basically, it celebrates the beginning of the salmon run every fall. So a couple years ago, we had some suitors bring some salmon plushes to match the event, and they would carry those around. Props are really good for people that may have a little bit of trouble improvising. You know, it kind of helps you to have something there to kind of start your interaction with. But then obviously the other side of that is you have to carry it around all the time. So it's really, you lose one paw pretty much because you're always carrying your prop. So, you know, play around with it. It's a good thing to try at least. Yes, also know your limits too. Everyone is different. Some really hardcore suitors can go out for 3 hours at a time, you know, all the way, you know, 100% effort and hardly break a sweat. Well, for the rest of us, you know, we definitely have our limits. So it's good to know yours and pace yourself. If it's a longer session, if you know you're going to be out for 2 hours or so, don't go 110% for the first half hour because then you'll be dying pretty much. I have a story about that. I tell this every time, but it's a really good one. A few years ago, we had a Halloween. Yeah, it was a Halloween thing at a mall, I believe. And it was a long session, and it was very warm in there. It was about a 2.5 hour session, and we were just getting to the end of it, heading back to B-suit, and then this kid wanted one more picture. So she came up, and I knew it was time to get out of suit pretty much. But anyway, she came up and gave me a hug and said, "Oh, Mommy, the line's all wet." I was like, oh boy. And just as proof that parents can really hold the magic as well, the mom didn't skip a beat and said, "Of course he has, honey, he's been swimming." Thank you, Mom, appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about choosing a venue now. For starters, say you've never done public fursuiting before. What's a good place to start? I like a good one is a public park, really, because it's obviously a public space, so you're not going to have any issues with that. Or even just a stroll downtown, like if there's an area of the city or town you live in that has a lot of like strip malls or store places where you can walk in front of a lot of storefronts, that's pretty nice. Store owners, especially small business owners, may actually really like you and invite you into their store to take pictures and stuff. That's happened to me when I've done that in my hometown. It's really good practice for public interaction. Like say you're at a park, I would bring some toys like a frisbee or a basketball, or even just play around on the jungle gym a little bit if there's kids there. That's really good interaction. If you start tossing a frisbee around, some kids will come in and want to play with you. And actually, about 5 years ago, I went to a park with some friends and I brought a basketball, and we challenged 10-year-old kids challenged us to some 3-on-3 with the suits. And that was a lot of fun, and they took great delight in beating us. They held nothing back during that game. So it's really good interactions at parks. Now, public space versus private property. This is a really important thing to note on here. Private property is most businesses or stores like Walmart, almost all malls are private property. Indoor or outdoor, this is key. So, and all of those private properties have generally no mask policies. So, if you just happen to walk into a mall covered with your head covered, you're going to be very quickly asked by security to leave the premises or take your mask off. So, it is possible to get into a mall for like a special event, but you just need to make sure to communicate in advance with the security people or whoever is in charge of that. And also be sure to bring express written consent of whoever's in charge too, because we had an issue a while back where it was a Halloween thing at a mall, and the person organizing the meet got permission, but it wasn't from the right person. So when we all showed up, we were still not allowed to perform there. So just make sure it's whoever's in charge that day is okay with it. Bowling or mini golf is really good. For bowling, you would definitely want to talk to the manager on duty at the bowling center. Just tell them, very clearly what's going on. We have a bunch of friends that would like to bowl in these mascot costumes, and most of the time, from my experience, they'll be really cool with it. They're going to think, oh yeah, this is awesome. They'll welcome you. There sometimes is an issue with the feet paws on the approach, because being a bowler myself, I know. The approach where you walk up to bowl, if the feet paws can damage them if they're dirty or have rubber soles, so sometimes they won't let you use those. But that's a pretty minor thing. Even they might be willing to give you like a changing room or a party room to change in for the costumes. It's something to ask. You probably don't want to ask that right away, but once you get in, just say, it would be nice if we could rent out this room. They might charge you for it, but it's really important to have a room aside when you're fursuit bowling to rest, to have kind of like a headless lounge, so to speak. Same with mini golf. Generally, it's pretty. I've never had a problem asking a mini golf place for fursuiting. It's always been okay. They might tell you to come at a certain time if it's really busy, like say on the weekends or something. But yeah, just the bottom line is be sure to, don't just show up and expect to do whatever. Talk to the manager and make sure you're good there. Okay, organized events in your hometowns. Now, nearly all cities or towns have festivals, especially during the summer. It's a great way to get involved. Some of them have festivals almost every, well, not every city has a festival, but if you live in a large city, like I'm from Seattle, we have a lot of suburbs that have their own festivals almost every week during the summer. And most of them actually have parades as well, and parades are an excellent way to get out in fursuit and perform and have fun. Just be sure to register for the parade in advance. All you have to do really is go to the website for the parade or the festival, and there's usually a little sign-up form there. So you just fill that out and make sure you're registered, so you don't just show up and be like, hey, we want to be in the parade today. That usually doesn't work. But yeah, parades are fantastic. We do about 3 or 4 of those a year during the summer. Charity events and fundraisers too. Those happen almost every weekend if you live in a large city. The most appealing for fursuiting would be the charities that benefit kids or animals, because that just it makes the most sense. And do some research. Like look up a fundraiser or an event in your hometown for an organization that you personally feel strongly about. Like say you're like a veterinarian, or you know people that care for animals. Maybe there's like a pet adoption thing going on in your hometown. That would be good. Or if you have like a family member or a friend that's that was diagnosed with cancer, do a cancer walk. It's something that really hits home with you. It makes it just that more special to be involved with. And there's also ones more specific like leukemia or MS, multiple sclerosis too. So once you choose what event you want to do, what is the best way to get in? This is the key. From my experience, what's really important is that you build a portfolio of your group performing in public. Preferably photos and video, but if you have just photos, that's fine too. Now, if you're just starting out, if your group is brand new and you're trying to get into this, at the very least have photos of the suits, the costumes. Preferably interacting with people or kids, like say even at a convention environment, that's fine. But really your goal with that is to show the organizers of the event what you will bring to the event. You know, we have these very cute costumes, etc., and I think we can be a benefit. Okay, yeah, let's talk about this real quick. When you're performing in public, this is unfortunate, but it's best to separate your identity from the furry fandom. Unfortunately, negative connotations about furry and fursuiters still exist and are believed, but you will get positive reactions as well. I don't know if it's just a product of living in the Seattle area where I'm from, but people are very open-minded up there, and I can't tell you how many times that we've shown up to a parade or an event and people will actually come up and yell, "Hey, it's the furries! We love you guys so much!" And I'm like, wow. You know, it's good to have that response. But anyway, in case they do bring up the furry thing, it actually hasn't happened to me yet in all the times I've done this. But the most important thing is don't be defensive about it. Don't be like, oh, we're not like those CSI people. Don't even bring that up. Don't focus on what you are not. Instead, describe your group by what you are. That's really important. Be like, we like to entertain others and put smiles on people's faces. That's why we do this. Just use really positive images, positive words. And that should be the end of that. Be very clear when you explain what you would like to do. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier when you're trying to get into a bowling meet or something. Yeah, just be very clearly explain. We have these mascot costumes, and we think we could be a benefit to your festival. We would like to do so and so, and this is kind of our plan. Again, don't use any furry buzzwords like fursuit, mascot character, life-size, cartoon animals, anything like that is much better. Because people, when you say the word fursuit, 99% of the time they're going to not know what the heck you're talking about. So, also state that you'll be performing for fun and do not seek compensation. That's really important because usually when you approach a organizer and you'll be like, oh, we want to do this, they'll be like, oh, maybe they would assume that you want some like compensation or to get paid for the performance. Now, when you're first starting out, that's not going to happen. So maybe down the line, if you can develop a good relationship with that organization, that might be possible. But make sure it's very clear that you do not seek any compensation for that monetarily. This is another thing. They could compensate you, maybe like bring you some water or something or a changing space. That's fine, but make sure it's no money involved. Most important thing, state how the festival will benefit from you being there. In my initial emails, when I send them out to organizers of events or contacts, I designate at least a paragraph to this. I want to make sure that they know how they will benefit from our group being there. For example, say you were looking to perform in like a kids section of a big festival, like Issaquah Salmon Days. Just so you guys know, for that particular festival, there's a huge area where it's all sorts of kids' activities. There's vendor booths, those little hamster balls that you go in and roll around, and just stuff for kids. And so we would naturally fit right in there, right? So basically I would explain, I think it would be a great idea for we call them critters, we're mostly critters, but our critters would roam around and take photos and entertain the many families and kids in attendance and leave them with lasting memories of Issaquah Salmon Days to take home with them. And when you say it like that, they're much more likely to think positively of you and say, oh, we'll give you guys a shot. We'll get you in there. That's all you need. Once you get in there and you can prove that you're, do what you say you're going to do, they're going to invite you back. Okay. Oh yes. One more thing. Offer to help or assist with fundraising opportunities. Say you're doing a cancer walk or something like that. Offer to help them out. Maybe you can have there's a photo booth and they can charge $5 or open-ended donations for photos with the suitors. That way you're doing your job and the charity is making extra money. So that's a great way to do that. And leave it open-ended. The most important thing is when you're performing for an organization, they really need to be in control about what you guys do. You might want to do certain things, like have an idea, and that's fine. But kind of leave it open-ended to them. You know, they will determine what you perform or how you perform at the festival. And sometimes they won't even do that. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, you guys can just do whatever you want. You know, it's just great to have you here. So it kind of depends. Once you get in, it's great to ask if there's room for changing space, because that's really important. If not, you must formulate some sort of plan. Now, I have two examples for that. One of them is this festival that unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, but it's really close to where I live. It's actually the city where I live. Bothell River Fest is kind of one of those small town street festivals, pretty much, that we used to do every year. Now, they don't really have any changing space. So how we worked around that is we went to the closest house, which happened to be mine, because I live only about 5 minutes from the festival grounds where it used to be. So what we would do is we would meet at my house, change into suit at my house, and then we would have our handlers drive us to the festival grounds, and then we would make our rounds and then head back. If that's not an option, an option is to rent out a room at a local facility, like a library or an office building. That can get kind of expensive. Or also there's those little pop-up tents too. Generally they're not that big though, so it's going to be hard to change a lot of suitors really quickly. You can use that, but I've seen other ways, like people have those big canopy tents too, and they would put up like a curtain around the tents, and that's another way to do it, because those have a lot more space. And by the way, if anyone has anything to input, please just go ahead and interrupt, or just raise your hand, because I know I see a lot of you here that have some public suiting experience, so feel free. Okay, always act courteous and professional too. You will get turned down. It's just part of the deal. Keep trying and don't give up. After I started Emerald City Critters, I think I tried at least 4 times to get into certain events that I thought would be good fits for us, and we were either ignored or turned down. And finally, we got into a really, really big one, which is actually happening in a few weeks. We got into the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure, which is for breast cancer research. And it's the Seattle chapter of that organization. And they really, really loved us, and they very enthusiastically invited us back for this year. And that's actually happening in a couple weeks, June 7th. So we're very excited about that. Okay, preparing for performance. This is important. Just, Boy Scout motto, be prepared. Scout the venue in advance, especially if it's like a festival or something that you're unfamiliar with. Get there in advance, kind of walk. Actually, what you should do is formulate a plan or a route and to try to follow it as closely as possible. As you're walking through the route, just kind of be really mindful of pitfalls, things that, might get suitors in trouble, or also look for break locations too. Like, say you're walking around and you see there's a little alcove behind this building that would be perfect for pop your head off, get some water. It's kind of away from everything else. Those are really good. So make sure to take notes about that so you know for the future. We had a really complex situation for Issaquah Salmon Days several years ago where we actually had to be at 3 different locations at the festival at one time. There was the kids area, there was this street area in front of a music stage, and also the salmon hatchery. Now the salmon hatchery at that festival was way far away from everything else that we were at. So what we had to do is I had to organize it so we would rotate on the hour, like the suitors that were at the kids area would go to the stage, and the stage would go to the hatchery. And we actually had one of our handlers drive his truck and haul our suitors around to each location. It was very complex, and we had 2 different break areas too. And that was quite a headache, but we made it work. In future years, we didn't go to the hatchery, obviously, because that was just too much. But yeah, so just, it really helps to have kind of a logistical mind and just kind of work your way through it in your head before it actually happens. You can't be too prepared for a public fursuit outing. Let's talk about, say you've been doing this regularly, or you want to start doing it more regularly, and you want to get a group together to go out and really do a lot of events. You feel like, this is something you were meant to do. If you start to do fursuit performance regularly, it would really help to have an official name to go by. It just helps create a sense of solidarity within your group, and it makes you look more reputable and more official. Because when you're trying to introduce yourself to an organization and and you're like, oh, we're just a bunch of friends that want to go out and have fun. That's all right and good, but it sounds much better to be like, hi, we are Emerald City Critters. We are Critters by the Bay. We are Paws for Life, or whatever it is. That really helps. If you're really ambitious, you can trademark the name, and also register as a nonprofit organization. Now the rules on that vary depending on what state you live in. For Washington State, which is where I live, it was actually fairly inexpensive to register as a nonprofit. It was like maybe $80 or something, and there's also yearly dues you have to pay, but it's not that much. Now what is really expensive is to register as a 501c3 nonprofit, the federal nonprofit. Now, I looked into that because I had a lot of people asking me if we were 501c3, and unfortunately, I can't really see any situation where it would really be worth it, because it costs like $800 or something like that, and it's very expensive, and you have to have a considerable amount of money flowing through your organization to make it financially feasible, really, because when you start out, you're really running off nothing. Like we, for example, Emerald City Critters exists only on the goodwill and donations of people that we perform for. And sometimes you won't even get any donations from organizations, and also we have some member dues as well when they join that they have to pay. Other than that, we really don't have any ways of raising money. So, background checks. This is a little bit controversial. Some groups do it, some groups don't. In my experience, certain organizations feel safer, especially when you're getting in the realm of like performing at a children's hospital or something like that. That one you almost certainly will have to have a background check. It just gives the charities a peace of mind that the people that you are with are, are able to work around kids safely. Most nonprofits do this. If you're just going to do like festivals and stuff, I don't think it's really worth it to have background checks or require them, unless the organization asks for that, which I haven't actually run into yet. Insurance also, this is kind of a new one for me. Only once in all the years I've done public suiting have I been required by a festival or organization to have insurance. Unless your group performs a lot, like say like once a month or more, I just don't think it's really that necessary. Because really, as long as you guys play by the rules and don't do anything stupid, there's very little chance that you're going to do anything harmful that would require an insurance claim. It's a good thing to have if you can afford it, but I just I don't think it's really worth it, because insurance is actually really expensive. They don't do it by the event. There's maybe a couple ways that you can do it by the event, but usually you pay through your organization by month, kind of like car insurance. You pay by the month, and it's especially if you don't perform much, that's money wasted away that could go to more beneficial things. That's just my opinion on that. Okay, increase your presence. Once you have your group name all set, you need to get yourself out there. How do you do that? Well, a good way is to make a business card. So when you go to an event and people have that question, who are you guys, who are you with, etc., just hand them a card. Say, we are Emerald City Critters. You have all your information on the card, your website, we'll talk about websites later, but at least your email and phone number so they can get in touch with you for more information. And also, yes, it's really important for the performers, the critters, or the fursuiters, whatever, especially to have some sort of way that people know that they're all together in the same group. How do you do that? There's a couple different ways to do that. For us, we started out with doing badges, and I printed out these pretty high quality badges. They're laminated. They say on the one side it says official critter handler, as you can see, and the other side says official critter character. So whichever side you are, you can just flip it around. We actually changed that. All of our badges now say handlers, so they have all the handlers wear these and have the logo on it, obviously. The reason why we changed that is because we actually have jerseys now for our critters to wear at official events. You can see it's kind of just your standard mesh basketball jersey here with our logo on the front. And also the website too. This is really important because the reason why is because when you take a photo with the suitor, and the website's right there. It's in the photo, so they can, if they want more information, they can just go ahead and go to our website. And jerseys are actually really good for a number of reasons. A lot of times kids will have those sticky fingers, and it protects the suit, obviously, from getting dirty. Let's see. Okay, making a website. This is really important. Nowadays, if you're a business and you don't have a website, you're pretty much way behind the ball. Web hosting is actually really cheap. The people I go through, it starts out at only like a few dollars a month, and yeah, you can do quite a bit with it. It's very you can have a professional design it if you want to, or I can just I did it myself, and it was very basic. It's not a really fancy website, but it's really all you need. Increase your social media presence. Twitter and Facebook is really the wave of the future. So, yeah, it's if you want to. We haven't really made a Facebook yet. That's something maybe I would consider in the future once we get rolling a little bit more. But yeah, just any way you can spread word of mouth that you're out there. And really, the most important thing is to develop those really good relationships with the people, the organizations you perform with. The reason for that is sometimes those organizations will be kind of friends or know other organizations that will just help you get into more events down the line. Last year when we showed up for the Race for the Cure I was talking about earlier, I made sure really hard to develop a good relationship with the people working with Komen, the Seattle chapter of Komen, and made sure everything was really good for our parents there. And I thought it went really well. I didn't really know how well, but this year I sent one email to the guy that was my contact last year and asked if they would like us to come back for the same thing, because they have the race every year, it's the end of the thing. And I got a phone call from she's called the mascot liaison. Now, she deals with a lot of for this event last year, there was Blitz, the Seattle Seahawk mascot there. There was a lot of people from the 409, the Star Wars regiment. There was a lot of really, big profile costumes there. Well, she left like a 3-minute voice message on my phone going on and on about how we made such a positive difference to that event last year. We brought so much smiles and cheer and joy and helped them out. They would, yes, absolutely love us to be back. Now that really made me feel good that we did that job. And she actually, the last thing she said was, go ahead and pencil this event down on your calendar every year. We want you back every year for this. So that's the product of really working hard and making sure you develop those good relationships and doing everything you can, especially if it's your first appearance, make sure it goes well. And you can have that every year pretty much. That's pretty much all I had. Does anyone have any questions? I can talk about any of my experiences, or you guys can talk about your experiences pursuing public if you want. Yes?
I don't know if this really pertains to the topic, but I'm kind of interested in going abroad to different conventions. So basically what I'm asking is airplanes. I hear a lot of horror stories about fursuits getting lost and damaged against TSA. And you're from Seattle, so I'm assuming you take an airplane?
I fly to just all my conventions,
Can you give us some tips or like some ideas on how to handle fursuit? Because I have a resin and foam masks. So.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, as far as bags getting lost, I don't really have any input on that. It just that's something that happens. But as far as packing your suit, I would recommend. I don't do this, but if you have a very delicate head, like you said, I would put it in like an action packer, like one of those hard shell ones. Unfortunately, the TSA rules state that one of those things have to be opened if they are to be inspected. So don't lock it, because then they'll just break the lock. But, for a fursuit head, when you're packing it to go abroad or to just flying in an airport, what you want to do is you want to make sure that head is protected from the inside. So what I do is my head is a foam head. So I get my hand paws and roll them up into a ball and actually put them in the head. This is a really good tip because that supports, your bag's going to get tossed around in the airport and you're going to have a lot of beating from the sides. So putting that, some kind of weight inside the head will support the head and make sure it doesn't get kind of damaged or smashed, I guess, in transit. Yeah, other than that, just, it's a good idea to make sure your suitcase is kind of lined with either a towel or something so it doesn't get scratched. I actually haven't really had much of a problem, as long as you're kind of taking precautions. That kind of answer your question, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And just, even with the action pack, you still have to be careful, because like one of the local furs was San Francisco actually lost its entire action packer and all he got was the lid.
Really?
So just the lid,
Wow,
not spin,
that's
the whole
terrible.
box just gone and Southwest just gave up looking for it.
Oh, that's
So,
horrible, wow.
If you're gonna make an action packer, put a bungee cord over top of it.
Yeah, that's a good
That way
idea.
it's not locked. You can also tell TSA, which I've done this before, call me when you're done, it's really packed up in a certain way, it has to go back that way. Call me when you're done, I'll pack it up again. And they just call me, hey, you know what, you're good, we don't even need to look at it, so.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good tip,
TSA
yeah.
is surprisingly accommodating with fursuiters, especially in like Pittsburgh and San Jose, the airports that are generally get furs coming through very often.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good tip. Yeah, I've never really heard of a whole case being lost, but yeah, put that bungee cord around it and,
Yeah, I've heard of a number of people losing their action packers and then, this is the first time I've heard of an action packer getting straight up lost, but I know that they've been like diverted to other planes and other airports.
oh, really?
I actually, when I was flying to Anthrocon, the sticker fell off mine.
Oh, no.
And luckily, I guess they caught it and they put a temporary one on it, it still got to me, so
Oh, good.
I lucked out.
That'd be better than finding out your fursuit's in like New York or something.
Yeah, where is it? Oh, it's in Miami. Why
Yeah.
is it in Miami?
Oh, gosh.
I'll add to that.
Yeah.
We're from Calgary. I've flown San Jose twice with an action packer. I would not recommend an action packer. If you got a resume, take it on your carry-on.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
this head is carry-on. We take it out as a carry-on in a small suitcase, and all they do is they open it, close it, and won't really ask anything.
I have LED lights and also fans, so they might think that might be a bomb if
Well,
they turn it on.
if they open it up, they'll just try to turn it on and everything. You can turn it on for them.
Yeah, exactly. I've had that problem. I've tried to carry fans through the detectors before as a carry-on, and it will register as a bomb, but all they do is open it up and see that plainly it's not. So that won't be a problem. That's a really good point. I see this more often.
My action packer broke.
Oh, it did?
and was
Okay.
open,
Yeah, so I guess
that's-
action packers are probably not a good idea.
Yeah, and you pay money for them.
Yeah, they are very
I had to pay $70
They are
to get
very
to San
expensive.
Jose from
Yeah.
Calgary. So.
On
Yeah.
Southwest, they are free.
Oh, really?
They are just like an inch below what you have to pay for.
I know.
Oh, yes.
We had to fly Alaska all the time, and it's a $70 charge
Yeah,
to get to San Jose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's Southwest,
One way.
$25 for the action packers, you can take two of them for free.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, you're running a risk of Southwest, they'll probably lose it, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things. you just
Yeah,
have
I
to-
always try to fly Southwest if I can because of the 2 free bags. Because when you go to a con, one of the bags is always your suit, right? So
And also vacuum pack.
Two action packers, you know,
Yeah,
together, so.
That's what I do with my suit. I can fit everything in a little suitcase.
oh, nice.
Including my head.
Yeah, I do like the idea of carry-on. If you have a very fragile head, you know, if he has like something like that, you know, you probably wouldn't want to put his costume here. You wouldn't want to put that in a suitcase. So yeah, carry it on. It's always better to be safe than sorry. You know, you will get some questions probably from the TSA, but you know, at least your head will be safe. So. Anyone else have any questions or anything to bring up?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Fursuit attendance.
Is-
How is your attendance at your event, like for fursuiters?
Oh, for the cruise, Emergency Cruise events? Well, we generally have, oh, no, this is good. For the Salmon Days one, we have to have a huge crew for that one because of just our requirements of where we need to be. I should actually probably explain how that works because it's kind of, it works every year. We've done it for 5 straight years now this way. So after that hatchery fiasco, we were required to be in 2 spots, the kids area and the main stage area. And you know, I'm a big proponent of making sure that our fursuiters get a break. You know, it's really hard to perform for any length of time. So what we did is we did 1-hour segments with a break in between. So I would have to have 3 groups because one on break, one at the kids area, and one at the main stage area, and we would just rotate on the hour. So for that, we are required to generally have at least 4 suitors per group. So if you do the math, that's 12. We need to have 12 suitors for that event. And as I said before, we need a 2-to-1 ratio of handlers to suitors. So for every group of 4, we need to have 2 handlers. So that makes 2, 4, 6 handlers and 12 suits. That's 18 people for that. So that's as big as we go as far as the staffing that we need. Now for that one, we actually don't, right now we have about 18 members in Animal Suiting Critters. So for that one, I do make an exception if people have some public suiting experience or handling experience, they just want to help out. I allow them to help out for Salmon Days because we need just the numbers that we need. Yeah, but most of our events we have maybe, like for instance, last Halloween we did one at a church that we only had 4 suitors and like 2 or 3 handlers, can't remember, but it kind of varies.
That's what we usually
Yeah.
just get suitors. So
Oh, just get suitors.
we
Okay.
usually just go we're all experienced.
Yeah, that's another thing. If you're all experienced and it's more or less a contained environment, I think that's fine.
I don't use this one, I've got a Fox that has really good vision, that I'm
Yeah.
basically my own handler, and I'll handle for someone else.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's fine. If you guys feel you know how experienced you are. So if you feel that you can get away with having no handlers or minimal handlers, yeah, by all
Sucks,
means.
but-
Yeah, go for it. But again, I personally would kind of be wary of that because you just never know what's going to happen. And it's really hard to if a situation comes up, it's really hard to get it under control if you don't have at least one handler. So that's just my take on that. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
That's another question. Have you ever had to deal with rowdy teenagers?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, have we? Yeah.
Yes.
We have.
Yes.
Just thinking
You don't realize it in suit, but the rest of us, the handlers.
The handlers.
Oh yes.
Yeah, see, that's when handlers are doing their job, when they're deflecting those rowdy teenagers, so the fursuiters don't even have to deal with it. But yeah, I can remember at Christmas time we do an outing in downtown Seattle somewhere, and last couple of years we've gone to Pike Place Market. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Seattle and been to Pike Place Market. It is really crowded in there, and sometimes there's a lot of strange people there as well. So you have to always be prepared for that. Dealing with rowdy teenagers. If your handler, it's usually the handler's job, but if they're not around, the best way to do is just remove yourself from the situation, or yeah, just get out of there as quickly as you can, depending on how rowdy they're being, But so like how Chaos, how would you?
So we had a group of rowdy teenagers that were pretty much almost manhandling the fursuits. They would come up, they would try and punch the fursuit, not hard or anything, or grab the tail and pull on it. So I would, and the other handlers would jump in and say, hey, how would you like it if somebody pulled your tail or smacked you around or anything? Or you just ask them, what do you have to prove? What do you have to prove? So you getting in between them prevents them from getting away with what they're trying to do. They will eventually lose interest and go away, but it's probably going to take some time. Rowdy teenagers are very hard to deter because they have so many hormones going on, flying around in there. Especially boys from 12 to 15, because they have so much to prove about coming in and say, hey, there's this thing going on here. I need to prove I'm more man than this. And they'll come in and they'll do something entirely stupid that could be harmful to your critter. So you have to really stay on top, just interject as quick as you can, try and deter them any way you can, without touching them. Even though you may want to knock their clock off, that will get you arrested real quick. So.
It's about 2 years ago at an anime con. I was wearing my two-foot horse outfit, and he's got feathers on top and everything. I was sitting in a chair resting, and about 5 of them, they're late teens, 18, 19, come up to me, and they were half drunk, and they're standing there just going on at me, and I'm sitting there just looking at them, and I'm just sitting there just still, and they start coming at me, and all I had to do was just stand up. Scared the snot out of me. I'm about 8 feet tall, and I look about 500 pounds.
That'll do it.
And they just, they disappeared in a hurry.
It's like, oh, let's not mess with this guy.
And I've had that that reaction most of the time with me, because my size is, if they start, I just turn around and look at them, and they're gone.
Yeah, especially in that costume. Right? Yeah, you probably don't have any problems. Does anyone have experience fursuiting at events or anything that they would like to share? Yeah.
We have a local furry group up in Northern California, and we go suiting at parks almost every week.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And I think our biggest problem are the fathers. I've personally had one guy, he was carrying his daughter, and she was, I don't know, maybe a year old, and she saw the suits and was getting kind of upset. So he walked up to me, grabbed onto my ear, and yanked my head off and was like, it's okay, it's just a human inside.
Wow.
I was like, excuse me, sir.
That is
Not
actually
okay.
considered, not check into state law, but that actually can be considered as physical assault. And you can actually call the cops on them for doing that.
That is good to know.
Yeah. So, and in that case, if you're doing in public parks, you if you have the opportunity, have a handler with you that can intervene with somebody who's going to be doing that. Or just, like he said, try and remove yourself from the situation as quickly as possible.
Because he was just walking past and like yanked my ear off as he was walking past.
Oh, did it damage your suit?
No, my suit was fine, but I was not happy.
No, because now you're ruining it for everyone else
Yeah.
that's in the park, and some other little kid might be standing there and they see your suit's head come off and there's somebody else underneath it. They freak out. A little 3-year-old, they're gonna freak out about that.
That's something
2-year-old.
I actually forgot to cover. I skipped it for some reason, but and more or less at a furry con, it's okay. Well, people have different opinions about this, but it's more or less it's acceptable to de-head in a public space. But when you're out in public, like at a park, unless it's a medical emergency, do not remove your head, please. I've seen it absolutely traumatize younger kids to no end, because I mean they have the type of capability of actually imagining that you are that character that you are portraying, and if you take that head off, obviously it's beyond ruining the magic. Also, talking with the static jaw. Now this one is also controversial, but I've seen it really freak people out if people talk with their normal human voice in a fursuit that doesn't have the jaw move. Like I've seen it really just weird people out. So I would recommend not doing that. Now, if you're into voice acting and you want to create a voice specifically for the character you're performing, that's great, and I've seen it work really, really well with a lot of characters, especially if you have a moving jaw. Some don't work as well as others, but yeah, when the jaw actually moves with your voice, that makes it just that more realistic. So yeah, that's that issue. Anyone else want to share a story?
I do the Arizona Renaissance Festival every year, and last year I did the full run. And I had this, I was wearing this guy. He's very popular there.
Oh, sure.
And this 2 gals come up to me, early 20s. This one gal come up to me and she was really shaking real bad. And I thought she was having epilepsy or something, and I don't know what. But the other gal come up to me and she says, she has a deathly fear of mascots. And I sat there and froze because I didn't know what to do.
Yes.
At that point, And so I just leaned over to the gal there, and not the other one. He says, first of all, I'm not a mascot. And I said, and I told her, I'll just stand perfectly still and I'll let her come to me, And she slowly came up and wouldn't get near me or anything. Finally, I got down on one knee and took this guy, and basically, as I'm standing there, I come there and I just bowed like this with the horns down.
Yeah.
She said, touch back my head, and that worked.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And,
Wow. Yeah,
but,
that's
it was one of them points I didn't know what to do.
yeah. What he described is very real. It's called masclophobia, and it's a fear of not only mascots but really anything with your face covered. I have run into people that have that in a public setting, and usually it's not an issue because if they have that, they will make a really wide berth. They won't even come close to you. But in a situation where it's kind of maybe enclosed or something where they have to interact or pass by you, it's just try, like he said, he did a great thing. He bent down and made his horns down, so it made him as least scary as possible, pretty much. And that seemed to help the situation. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It is very real. Yeah, do you want to start?
I was just going to say, media companies are for showing like an organization like you do, having a handler videotape and put it on YouTube or something. I think that's a very good way to show.
Absolutely.
You email like an organization, you say this is what we do, you can send them the video and see if there's any other places.
Yeah, that's great. Now, that's a lot of you might know me from my YouTube videos. That's something I've always harped on ever since I started doing public shooting. Is I always try to have a handler there shooting video, so you can see in video format what the good things that you can bring as fursuiting in public, and it's really great to just be able to show. Pictures are great, but to actually have that motion picture of the suit interacting with kids or interacting with anyone really, it just makes it that much more powerful. So I would highly recommend shooting video when you can at events and building your video portfolio that way. And YouTube's a great way to do it. Whatever you want to do. So yeah. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Oh, yes.
Beware of drunk people.
I'm sorry.
Drunks. Careful of people who are drinking.
Oh, drinks. Yes.
For a party in San Francisco, we walked a few blocks away to get food, and I was in pursuit. These guys were trying to get my attention, kind of waved at them, and I was about to order, and the next thing I know, I just feel this impact on the side of my face.
No way.
And I'll turn my head sideways, and the guy's like, "Hey, come on, you paid it." Like, don't punch me.
Drunk guy was picking a fight with you while you were in suit? Wow.
I can't imagine. That's why I didn't do that.
Yeah, be very careful with that. Now, frolic is kind of that, you have to be really careful, because if people that don't know, frolic is kind of like this, it's a dance party, right, at a
It's a
club.
nightclub.
A nightclub, yeah.
It's not in a really great area, like the nice. It's
Yeah.
within a few blocks, but if you start walking away, you get to some of the more rowdy nightclubs where, you know, the bros, the dude bros are, and they can get really, like, you know, aggressive and not really too careful. So.
Right, yeah, I would definitely try to stay away from the, you can kind of tell when you're walking around, you know, what groups might be belligerent towards you, depending on how much they've been drinking. So I would just try to, you know, just not even get near that, because that could end very badly. Yeah, oh yeah, there was a story kind of related to that thing I was talking about earlier, never fursuit alone. At Anthrocon, I go to Anthrocon every year, and there is a story, just about every year, you hear about at least one of these happening, where a fursuiter is walking alone in the streets of Pittsburgh at night, and they get beat up by some random people, like maybe drunk people, or people that want to start something. So yeah, it's a very good idea. Just you know, always again have a spotter or a handler there, even just a buddy to walk you back to your hotel if you need to walk at night. It's just, you know, better to be safe out there. And if you see something that could potentially be a problem, like a drunk group, just stay away. Yeah.
Now, for me, I actually do fursuit alone a lot of the time.
Oh.
I haven't really had problems with it just because of where I live.
Yeah.
But it's generally, with fursuiting alone, it's kind of about your confidence level on can you handle something, whether or not if the situation is bad. Like, if you know that people are very visual. They know where they're going into a bad spot or where they shouldn't be at. That's kind of the thing I say what you have to look out for. If you do try to fursuit alone, it's like, know where you're going. Don't go anywhere bad. Don't go to dark places. You shouldn't be going through the bar strip or anything
Exactly, yeah.
at night. Yeah, so it's just about personal awareness.
Yeah, right. Personal awareness and knowing your environment. I'm sure you shoot at the same kind of locations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you know it like the back of your hand. So that's really important if you decide to go fursuit alone. Where do you live, by the way?
I live in Mammoth Lake. It's about a few hours down south from here.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Anyone else? Okay, that's it. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to Fursuiting.com. Hope you learned something. And have fun out there. If you have any more questions, email me or contact me. I'll be happy to help you out.